How's it going everybody, Ben from basesetmew here and welcome back to the channel. This video is another entry in my collecting on a budget series, so without further ado let's jump straight into it. Now this list in particular starts out with a lot of nostalgia, well at least for me, because this card for example, this Manectric, was released right around the time where I was really into Pokemon. As you know if you've watched some of my other videos, the EX era is my favorite era, and this Manectric is a good indication why that is, because just look at that illustration. This one is available for around €8. Imagine that, 21-year-old card, €8. And it does feature this nice looking holographic pattern, back when holographics actually meant something, unlike now. Over on the TCG player side, switching that over real quick because the picture is much higher quality than it is compared to Card Market over there. Look at this one, man. It is also illustrated by Mitsuhiro Arita, which is probably part of the reason why this looks so impressive. And as I've said, that holo foil pattern, that is insane. On the TCG player side, there's only really one offer for some reason, in a holo foil at least, for around $7. There's one more offer, but first of all, this is a reverse, and these reverses, at least from the Ruby and Sapphire set, aren't the ones they did later on, like they did, for example, EX Deoxys comes to mind immediately, and I think EX Emerald as well, where you have the set name like on the bottom right or bottom left of the card. I think they switched it up with EX Deoxys and EX Emerald, although I'm not quite sure. Either way, those reverses actually look pretty cool, but yeah, they didn't do that for Ruby and Sapphire, so this is just a ridiculous offer. Now next up right here is this Flygon from EX Dragon. This one also illustrated by Mitsuhiro Arita of all artists. I actually do own this one in Japanese, although I would highly recommend you buy the English version, because the English version actually features the like extended yellow border, whatever you call it. It's not an e-reader, I don't think, because the e-reader was long out of use, right? When these cards came out. Don't know what you call this border in particular, but looks way better than the Japanese one. This one in a near mint is available for €19. You can get it cheaper at an excellent copy or a light plate, which is what excellent is, although you really have to be careful when you look at the quality, because something I've noticed, especially with these older cards from the EX era, and also what I've really noticed now that I'm buying a lot of these old school EX cards, that people declare their cards to be like excellent quality or light plate, I suppose, where they really aren't. They're way worse quality than that. I think this one is a really good example. Like, look at this one. I don't think this is an excellent or light plate copy. Look at the dirt on the back as well. Not like to bash the seller of this card right here, maybe he doesn't know any better, but you really have to watch out for the quality. Over right here on the eBay side, you can see the illustration way better than in Card Market. Don't know why they use so low resolution pictures. This is an amazing one. This one right here in a light plate copy, once again, you do have to watch out if you do get a good looking copy. This one available for around $21. I don't know if TCG Player kind of works how Card Market works, because let's say if I want to buy this card in particular from this seller right here, I would put it in my cart and then I would message the seller if he could send me some pictures of the card itself. I don't know if that works on TCG Player as well. If it does work, then I highly recommend you do that, or you just pick a listing that already has a picture right there. Now next up right here is this Blaziken. Look at this battle stance. This one from EX Power Keeper, so not quite as old as the Manectric, but still very cool. This one available for around €7, just a normal holo version, not the reverse. This is actually a good example. This is the reverses, I think. I don't know the exact set where they started doing these, but this is what a reverse from these newer sets would look like. You have the set name right here. I think for EX Deoxys it was in this corner, although I might be mistaken. Haven't opened EX Deoxys in a really long time. But yeah, these also look pretty cool, but I think for the sake of this video, we're just gonna go and cover normal holographic versions because the reverses tend to get kind of pricey. Not for this one though, surprisingly, but there we are. Over right here on the TCG Player side, we do have a light plate copy for around, I think, $7 with shipping, or $8. And just once again, do your due diligence, maybe look at the picture if the condition is good enough for you. And for the most part, though, a light plate copy is perfectly fine if you're putting it in a binder, which is what most of these cards are supposed to be that I do show off in these videos. They are supposed to be for your binder. If you do want cards that you want to grade, of course, they're going to be way more expensive. But there we are. We can also see the picture way better. Once again, look at that crazy battle stance that Blaziken has taken. Love it. Absolutely love it. And here is the last card already from the original EX era. A Gengar from EX Legend Maker. I do know for a fact that Legend Maker reverses do look really cool. But just once again for this one, we are focusing on the holographic, or the normal holographic, which is around 19 euros for this one in a near mint condition. Where over on the TCG player side, light plate around $15. I guess if you want near mint, it is a little bit more expensive at around 24 with shipping, I suppose. But if you are a Gengar collector, which I know there are a bunch of you guys out there that do collect Gengar. Gengar is a really popular Pokemon. So this should definitely be in your collection, maybe even in a reverse, but this already in a normal holographic looks super cool in my opinion. Now next up right here is this Gyarados EX from Breakpoint. So we're still covering like EX cards, but these aren't quite as old as the original ones. And these are still pretty cool though. I do love these secret rares from the X and Y era, and they're surprisingly affordable, I think most of them. This one, the Gyarados EX, at an excellent copy, or once again, light plate one, starts at around 28 euros. It does pick up in price if you want to go for a near mint one at around 40 euros. But one thing that I really love about not just this card in particular, but all the cards from like the older era, if I can find a good picture of the card, this one works. The texture is actually visible. I know I keep going on about like Japanese cars and the texture is so much better, it's so much finer. I would actually prefer if English cards had this kind of texture. I know they've trying to adapt the Japanese texturing, like ever since they also moved to the gray borders instead of the yellow ones. They're trying to get to that Japanese level, I feel like, but they're still not quite as there. I think it's actually really noticeable, not just with this card in particular. If you have a Sun and Moon era Pokemon trainer, like a full art trainer, compare that one to one from the Sword and Shield era and then to one from the Scarlet and Violet era. I feel like the texture, although it's getting finer, which should be a step in the right direction, I think if they just kept this kind of texture, it would be way better. Because this one looks 1,000 times better than whatever they're trying to do with the current Scarlet and Violet special illustration rares, in my opinion. Over on the TCG player side, this card though is around the similar price, $28.99, so I guess $29 for a light plate one. Once again, near mint, a little bit more expensive, so for a binder copy, this should be good enough. Next up, we do have another EX card. I do have a bunch of them. The Gardevoir EX from Steam Siege. I do know Steam Siege gets a bunch of hate, not a very popular set, but you do have to appreciate that the cards you can potentially pull from the set. Like this Gardevoir, for example. Man, I would have loved to open some packs back then, even if it's just Steam Siege. Wish I started collecting earlier, but here we are. This card in particular I actually featured once before, I'm pretty sure, once or twice. This one in an excellent copy, 25, although there is a near mint one for around 30 euros. And this card looks really cool in person, let me tell you. I do have this one and I'm really glad that I bought this one. This looks absolutely amazing. All of these old school EX cards, I think they're secret rare. Yeah, they are secret rares, look really cool. Over on the TCG player side, we can appreciate the artwork a little bit more, although albeit without the texture, which really changes the card drastically. And it is illustrated by Mitsuhiro Arita again. What do you know? This might as well be the Mitsuhiro Arita list, but here we are. Light plate copy, way cheaper than over in Europe. You can have one for around $18 over here. I guess you're really lucky if you're from the US or Canada, I suppose. I can't say anything else about this card. This is amazing. If you like Gardevoir or even just Gen 3 Pokemon, maybe even Yveltal, get this card right now. This is amazing. I love this card. Now, speaking of Yveltal EX, this is a card that, well, it is pretty cool. Unfortunately, this is one of the two cards that I cannot recommend for my European viewers, because if we just look at the price over on Card Market, It is way too expensive than I would be comfortable with recommending it at that price. Over on the US side, like on TCG Player, you are in luck because the card is over 50 or over 60% cheaper, I think right about there, at $33 for a light plate version. Man, oh man. And this isn't illustrated by Mitsuya Arata. At first I thought it was illustrated by him as well, but no, this is illustrated by Hasuno. Still, really great illustration. Just as this one, this is the second card on this list that I cannot recommend to my European peeps, unfortunately. Right around 50 euros for a light plate copy, or like 70 for a near mint one. Yeah, that is way too expensive, even though the illustration is really, really cool. TCG Player way cheaper, right here, $32. Amazing price for this one. If this card was available for $32, or I guess 32 euros over in Europe for like an excellent or light plate copy, I would buy one immediately, but unfortunately a little bit more expensive for us over here. Now next up is a Charizard that I would love to feature in every single one of these videos, because it's just ridiculous how cheap the card is compared to the evolutions that it comes from. It's of course the Mega Charizard EX. This one is available in an excellent copy once again for 34 euros. I guess you can grab a near mint one for around 50 if you want one that has like no whitening. But there we are. If you compare that to the booster box price of like evolutions, I think they're sitting at around 900 euros right about now, which is insane. This used to be the most expensive card in the set that you could pull. Don't know if it still is. It might be. All that I want to say, I guess, is don't open evolutions. Do not. Just buy the cards you want from evolutions. You'll be way better off. You'll be way better off. Over here, this card on TCG, we can see the picture way better again. Man, I love this. I wish Card Market had like high resolution pictures like this one. Similar price, actually the exact same price. That is very weird. That never happened before, I'm pretty sure. $34 for this one. That's great stuff, isn't it? Alright, one last Charizard on this list right here. It's the Charizard VSTAR promo. This one being available for 16 euros, and if I recall correctly, this is actually cheaper for us in Europe, because if we look at the TCG Player prices for this card right here, it is sitting at around $23, which is a little bit more expensive, but I think the card is still pretty good. It is also illustrated by Koki Saito, which is another great artist. One of my favorites, definitely top 5. Next up, we do have a few modern cards, starting it out with this Honchkrow V from Starbirth. I think I featured this in my cheap alternate art videos or cheap Japanese card videos, one of the two, but I just have to feature it again. So I was just browsing Card Rush the other day, you know, searching through super rares and so on, and I was really surprised how cheap the card is. I was really surprised, so I had to check, and yeah, it is. It is below 9 euros. And don't get it twisted, just because this card is cheap doesn't mean it's common by all means. Like, it is still an alternate art. It is still a Japanese alternate art with that insane texture and all those things. I did find a copy over here on ebay.com. This one is available for around $8. So there we are with this one. You can actually see the texture right here. Trust me, the picture, it might look a little bit weird, but if you see it in person, you'll be through the roof. Like, it is night and day difference. If you have this card in English maybe as well, buy the Japanese version and compare the texture. Trust me, you will not be disappointed in this card. Now next up right here is the Galissapod EX. This is actually very similar to the Honchkrow, where I was just browsing Card Rush and kind of surprised how this card is that cheap, although I do realize Galissapod isn't the most popular Pokemon, which is part of the reason why this card isn't more expensive. But once again, don't get it twisted, this is still a special art rare. Wow, I got it right this time. Special art rare. There we go, 10 euros over here on Card Market, while over on eBay a little bit cheaper at just $9 for this one. And I was lying when I said earlier the last Charizard on this list, sorry. Kind of forgot about this Charizard V right here. Now this is specifically the Japanese version and not the English one. The English one is a promo and this one is a potential pull from VSTAR Universe. And I'm honestly kind of surprised that a Japanese alternate art, because it is an alternate art, it is a secret art rare, is sitting at around 11 euros. An alternate art Charizard, a Japanese alternate art Charizard at that, is sitting at 11 euros. Never thought I'd see the day. I think the English one, at least on card market, is around 7 euros. So you might as well spend 4 euros extra and grab yourself the superior version, I might add. Because, yes, the texture and everything, yada yada, you've heard it 100 times by now. Over right here on the eBay site, this is the cheapest one I could find on eBay. So this one is around $15, I suppose. But still, this is an amazing pickup. Highly suggest you do pick this one up. Now you also have 2 full art trainer cards right here, one of which being the same. First, let's start with this Friends in Gala. Now this is the English version of Friends in Gala. And you can have this for around 5 euros, which is really, really cheap. Now one thing that really surprised me is the Japanese version of this card, because it is sitting at around 23 euros, which is ridiculous. I remember a time where this card used to be the most expensive card in the set, at around 80 to 100 euros. Pretty sure right now the most expensive card from VMAX Climax is actually the Acerola, or is it the whatchamacallit, the Gloria? It must be the... No, it must be the Acerola, right? Either way, though, we are talking about the Friends in Gala, and the Japanese version, once again, better texture, so on and so forth. Maybe better quality, although your mileage may vary, because not just this card, like most of the cards from VMAX Climax are notorious for having print lines. So if you do want to buy this card, you do have to get yourself a picture and just see, here is where a print line would be, and here is about where the print line usually are. There are some cards where the print lines also go here, but these are the usual spots right here and right there. And over on the TCG player side, oh hang on, let me show off the Japanese version first before I show off the English one, because the Japanese version is kind of odd. This is the cheapest one I could find on eBay.com, which is a PSA 9. It does have the print lines, as you can see right there. But, you know, as a binder copy, this might be well worth it. But once again, the Japanese version on this list is kind of like a, maybe you want to consider this one, but if you just want the card for the art, buy the English one. That's kind of how I see this Japanese version in particular. This one seems to have really, really bad print lines, because I can also see one here. You can see one right there. Yeah, you can see the print line there. I'm pretty sure there's one here as well. So these are the typical print lines that not just this card, as I said, is notorious for from VMAX Climax. So do definitely get yourself some pictures if you do want to buy this in Japanese. Do get pictures beforehand. Now, once again, the English version, it's cheaper. Oh, I know, I guess with shipping it's a similar price, like right around $5.30 right there. So still an amazing one. This is actually one of my favorite full art trainer cards, believe it or not. Second only to this one, of course, the Alola Friends, or Friends in Alola, however you want to call this card. This one specifically, of course, in Chinese, even though the Japanese price of this card has crashed. It has come down a ton. We are talking about the Chinese version. Now, this one right here is available for 28 euros. More on that price in a second. Let me just show you the price on eBay.com. Once again, this is the cheapest offer I could find. It seems to be that these cards are being sold, at least on eBay, for around $19 to $25. Which I still think is a little bit too much. Now, I recently did a mail day where I got most of my cards from Card Hobby, which is this website right here. And as you can see, this Friends in Alola card, which is a PSA 9, recently sold for $10 US. $10 US for this card right here, and I do know it is just a PSA 10, or just a PSA 9, sorry, not a PSA 10, PSA 9. But once again, for a binder copy, this is well enough. And I do actually plan to buy like either a 9 or 18 of these, because I want to have a full page of these in my binder. That's how much I like this card. I really, really like this card. And I'm so glad it is available in Chinese. Man, the card is super, super cool in my opinion. If you do plan on buying from Card Hobby, though, one word of advice: pay with credit card. Do not pay with PayPal or anything, just pay with credit card, because if something goes wrong, which it might, their support might as well be non-existent, at least it was for me. I talked a little bit about it in my mail day video, so if you're interested, go check out that video. I went into a lot more detail than I can do in this video right there, but just as a word of advice, pay with credit card and all should be good. Well, but I guess that does it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hoped I did get to show you once again a few cards that you maybe weren't aware of were actually that affordable. Well, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, then a like would be greatly appreciated. Consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I would be happy if we reach that goal. Other than that, right here's a video that YouTube thinks is best suited for you. Right here somewhere is my subscribe button. Click the Mew face first, then click this video, or check out any of the other videos in the description below. And I hope I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace, take care.